So as I've mentioned on this channel before, Pokemon Legends Arceus is a Pokemon game unlike anything we have ever seen before, and as such, a number of immensely interesting questions have popped up about this game ever since it was revealed. And one of those questions that I have been asking lately that wouldn't really be that much of a question if this game wasn't so unique is how this game might actually connect to the base game of its respective generation, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Because even though Pokemon Legends Arceus is immensely different to Pokemon Sword and Shield and immensely different to anything we've ever seen in the series, as I said, it is still considered a Generation 8 title, and it is also considered a core series, main series title as well, and when you get these kind of mid-generation titles, they usually always connect to the base game of the generation, whatever that may be. So how is this game, with as different as it is, going to connect to Sword and Shield, if at all? Well, today that is the topic that we are going to be exploring and hopefully answering, and I actually have a couple of very interesting possible answers that I'm excited to touch on today, so let's get into it. So as I mentioned, it is a pretty common trait for games that are released in the middle of any given Pokemon generation to connect back to the base games of that generation. For instance, we saw this in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, where it featured Mega Evolution as well as other aspects of the X and Y games, and we even saw this in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, where those, being 7th generation games, connected back to Sun and Moon by featuring various characters as well as the Alola form Pokemon from those games. So given that fact, and also given the fact that the marketing of Pokemon itself always heavily revolves around the base games of any given generation, and even though we move on to different games, the focus for all intents and purposes always kind of wraps back around to that base region, those base games, which is currently Sword and Shield, I feel it is very likely that we are going to get some Sword and Shield Galar region connections in Pokemon Legends Arceus. Finally, before I touch on my first point, I think it is also worth noting that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl exist, and I think they will have some Galar connections as well, and could possibly affect how Galar connects to Pokemon Legends Arceus. However, I do very much still feel that this game in particular, Legends Arceus, is going to connect to the 8th generation and the Galar games regardless. And the first way I think it is going to do that is with Kubfu. Now, I say think because I don't necessarily expect this to happen, I just think it's something that could possibly connect these games together, and the reason why I bring up Kubfu in particular is because we learned in the Isle of Armor expansion where it was featured that Kubfu actually isn't originally from Galar, and instead is from another faraway mountainous region that it eventually migrated to Galar from. And as it relates to Galar, far away, mountainous, and having some Asian inspirations like Kubfu does, all fits with the Sinnoh region perfectly. There was speculation that Kubfu could be from Sinnoh as soon as Kubfu was revealed well before we even knew about Legends Arceus, but the thing that I think makes this even more likely now that we know the kind of Sinnoh games we are going to get is the fact that Legends Arceus takes place in the past. And as I just mentioned, it was specifically stated in Sword and Shield that Kubfu came over from its home region long ago, as in the past. And so it's very convenient that this Sinnoh game, where Kubfu seemingly was a perfect fit for already, is also taking place in the past. So as it relates to the idea of Kubfu possibly originally being from the Sinnoh region, I think this is the perfect way to make that happen, because they can have Kubfu as an 8th generation Pokemon who is still very much relevant in this 8th generation game appear as if it was naturally from this region without really messing up the continuity and the canonness, if you will, of Sinnoh, because obviously this takes place well before the Sinnoh games that we have already known and played. So in a sense, the past setting of Legends Arceus really allows Game Freak to have their cake and eat it too, where they can do pretty much anything they want in terms of gameplay, lore, whatever, but they don't really have to worry about messing up the already established story. And even if Kubfu and its evolution Urshifu for that matter aren't specifically from Sinnoh, and that's not exactly how they get integrated into this game, I still very much could see them being integrated into this game for that exact reason, because they don't really have to worry about retconning anything. Honestly, the more I talk about it, the more I'm convinced that this definitely is going to happen, or at the very least should. However, another really interesting element about a possible connection between Galar and Legends Arceus is the fact that we're very likely going to get Galar Pokemon in general appearing in this game, simply for the fact that this is an 8th generation game, and so 8th generation Pokemon would naturally be featured in it, even if it's not in their native setting. We have seen this kind of thing happen dating back to even the very first Pokemon remakes, Fire Red and Leaf Green, which made sure to feature Gen 2 as well as Gen 3 Pokemon. And then from there, every other remake has featured or done something to integrate the current gen Pokemon into its own setting. So I don't think we're going to have any exception here as far as the Galar Pokemon goes, but the way they are integrated is going to be a lot more interesting, I think, than those other remakes. And that is because of, once again, the past setting. We know that Galar Pokemon don't really appear in Sinnoh because we've seen the Sinnoh region before, and it's probably a little bit harder for Pokemon to co-mingle with every other region out there, given that travel is a lot more limited than it is in the modern day. So with these Galar Pokemon not being native to Sinnoh and it being really hard for them to travel over there in one way or another, how exactly are they going to get there? Well, this could be a situation similar to that of Kubfu, where Game Freak just throws the Galar Pokemon in there because they don't have to worry about retconning anything. However, with this game being so tightly focused on its story, I think we're not just going to see Galar Pokemon appearing for the sake of them appearing. I think there's going to be a reason why they appear if they do. And that would have to be in the form of them being imported by a character, by some organization, just some way that they were migrated from their home region to this region, and then that will tie Sinnoh and Galar together, because you'll have some character from Galar, maybe a new character, that traveled their way to Sinnoh and brought Galar Pokemon with them. Something along those lines that really gives a good reason for the Galar Pokemon to be in Sinnoh, because otherwise they really don't have any reason to be there at all and don't have any way to be there. But as I said, it's likely that they will be simply because this is an 8th generation game. So that is another way that Galar and Sinnoh could connect in Legends Arceus, which I think would be an amazing way to go about it, but yet another way that also involves a legendary Pokemon that also came from the Sword and Shield expansion that I think could come back around into Legends Arceus has to do with Calyrex. The Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion pass was effectively a bridge between what we are going to experience in Legends Arceus, especially in terms of gameplay, and what we started the generation with in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So between that and the fact that, as I mentioned, the Galar Pokemon are still very much going to be the marketing focus for Pokemon as we continue to move through Generation 8, it would not surprise me at all if one or both of these DLC legendaries made it into Legends Arceus. And the way that Calyrex could find its way into the game is the fact that, once again, it also has to do with the past, which is very convenient given what we're seeing in Legends Arceus. Calyrex was once the king of all of Galar at some point in the past, and with it being so convenient that we're now playing a game in the past that is also within Generation 8, I could kind of see this coming into play in Legends Arceus in one way or another. And how exactly this could go about happening is where it gets really interesting, because if Calyrex is indeed the king of all of Galar, his appearance in Legends Arceus is obviously going to command some kind of importance. There's gotta be a good reason why the king of a region is in a whole other region, and that could provide the perfect reason for the lore and the backstory and the history of these two regions to really be intertwined together like I personally expect them to be. I also think it helps the case of both Calyrex and Kubfu in this regard that they are both so brand new, even by Generation 8 standards. I kinda don't think it's very likely that Game Freak is going to make these Pokemon and have them feature in this DLC, only for them to immediately drop off and not have any kind of presence afterwards, even within their own respective generation. I think they're gonna milk the fact that these Pokemon exist and that they are new a little longer than just for the expansions, and I think this way in Legends Arceus would be a great way to do it that could legitimately happen. We've got plenty more reasons as well how Pokemon Sword and Shield and the Galar region could connect to Sinnoh in Pokemon Legends Arceus, but those are going to be discussed over on the UCast Studios gaming channel, as this is a part of our weekly series with that channel. So be sure to click the link in the description to check that out. It's a really cool discussion, and checking out that video directly supports this channel here and the videos I'm able to make for you guys. So with that being said, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new, check out that video once again, and I will be back here with another video as well really soon. So until then, as always, thank you guys for watching. I love you very much, and I will smell you guys later.